Hey YouTube! A guitar video! Wow, after yesterday's walk in the snow video. Yeah, so actually when I started off doing the YouTube channel, when I started doing a guitar YouTube channel, the plan was I was going to do a 2-minute video of all the guitars that I had that didn't seem to exist online, nobody else had. This will not be a 2-minute video, it's already 30 seconds long and I've not said anything. Yeah, so Washburn, one of my favourites, actually run a Facebook page called Washburn Guitars The Golden Era to try and find out more about them. Primarily the Wing and Stage series, which is kind of all there is. The Force sort of fit into that. But so this all started with my B28 8-string bass, which I bought for a bargain because it actually wasn't that long after I'd seen John Paul Jones, Led Zeppelin's bassist, doing a solo gig, and he was playing 8-string basses, and I was like, oh, 8-string basses, and I saw one in Guitar second hand, and I was like, it wasn't really. I've always tell this story. I saw it, and thought that looks nuts. I pointed. I was in with my pal G. I was like, look at that, amazing. I was like, it had a really strange shape. This shape, like a tiger top and stuff like that, and I was like, it's amazing. And when I got home, I was talking, I was like, that 8-string bass was mental, eh? Pity it was 1,200 quid. And he was like, it wasn't 1,200 quid, was it not? 200 quid. And I was like, no, it was 1,200. And he's like, no, I'm sure it was. So I phoned up the shop. So you've got an 8-string bass. I think it was a Washburn hanging on the wall. No, you tell me how much it was. And the guy's like, yeah, hold on. It's 249. So basically I drove back into town, put a deposit on it. The only time I've ever bought a guitar on hire purchase, even though I didn't really. I signed up for hire purchase, bought it, gave him, I don't know, 50 quid deposit or whatever, and then at the end of the month just paid up the rest of it. So that was my first Japanese guitar that I was really aware it was a Japanese guitar. I think it was nuts. This is basically the guitar version of it, so I've been after one of these since then. That must be 10 years ago, maybe a bit more than that, but before I had a YouTube channel anyway. And it's a B28. This is an A20v. So history lesson? Yeah, why not? Washburn used to make guitars back. It's actually, I was talking to Blacktooth Fox the other day. It's like, apparently they started off during the American Civil War. Like, that old, really, but it was someone in Washburn. It was like Lyle in Washburn or something like that. And then after that, in the 1890s or something, it was just Washburn, or George Washburn, making acoustic guitars. And then during the Second World War or something, they shut down making that so they could make military stuff. I don't know, guns and stuff, I think. And then they came back for electric guitars in 1977. The company was, I assume, bought over by somebody else. And they went to Japan to make guitars, and that's the Wing series, as their design of the ultimate guitar. That's another video. I've got a Wing series video. If it was really clever, I'd put it up there. If I remember. And then, so after that was that was the first one. And then they designed the Stage series, which is this one, which is kind of, I always thought of it as like an Explorer with this bit cut off, with a bit chopped off, but it's actually more like a Firebird. This, from here down, or a Mockingbird part, maybe like a Beastie Rich Mockingbird. This bit reminds me of it, and it's kind of a bit like a Firebird with this being a slightly different shape. I always liked, I like the design aspects of certain guitars, and this one, it's got a really strange headstock. If they call it a hockey stick, understandably. But I really like the way that ties in with this bit. So it kind of looks right. You know, it's often, I don't know, headstocks are a funny thing. It's got to be the right headstock for the guitar. So it's like, a Telly's got to have a Telly headstock. It doesn't, but it's got to have one that looks right, or looks suitable. That's why I kind of struggle a little bit. See, when you get your like Strats that have got a pointy headstock, kind of, not against the pointy headstock, just, it's not holistically designed, whereas this is. So again, going for top of the range, best guitar you can get type thing. So this is, as far as I'm aware, there was two to start with. There was the A20 and the A10. The A20 being the deluxe model, and the A10 being the standard one. I do have an A10 as well. In fact, I've got two A10s. I've got a white one with a collar in it that was really, really, really beat up, because I've been looking for an A20 forever, and I just figured I was never going to find one. So I bought this A10 that was battered, needed up. Then about a month later, it popped up a mint condition blue one, so I ended up buying that as well. So that's one of the ones that should really go in the cull. Just kind of like it because it's white. So what we've got is, it's through neck. You can't see it on this one because it's black. This has gold binding on it. This is from, I don't know, it doesn't have a serial number on it, which I think means it's a very early one. So it's maybe 1979, 1980, whenever they started making these. This is kind of like a really early one, and they continued on a little bit. They were made by a company called Yamaki, which was a tiny little factory that made pure, they were ridiculously over spec'd, and I don't know, too really pernickety about building these things. There's only 30 people work for the company, and that included everyone. So I don't know how many of them were actually, how many of them were, like working in the office or answering the phone or stuff like that. But not very many people. These would have been made in batches of 20 or something like that, and they were made to order. This one has, as I said, it's a through neck, so it's a 3-piece through neck with ash wings on it. I know that because I can see the base is the same, and it's got wooden truss rod covers, which are pretty cool. Can't really see it on this one, but I have seen someone else on my Washburn Golden Era page had one of these, and it had Japanese writing on the back of the wood on the back of the truss rod, on the back of the cavity cover, and it was like, it's Japanese writing, and he got it translated by the guy who made it, Mr. Hiro-san, and it pretty much said "shit wood, paint black." So it's like, because of very, very figure dash. So I'm not sure. I think maybe they cut these things out, and then if it maybe didn't, when they say shit wood, it's obviously still top quality ash, but maybe the grain wasn't quite so pleasing. It had like unpleasant bits in it or something. Those were the ones that were painted black, so I think that's what's happened here. It's a wee bit annoying that when you've got a through neck, you kind of want to be able to see that it's a through neck. Obviously, there's no heel and stuff like that, and if you look in below the pickups and stuff, you can see the 3 strips in the centre. So it's a through neck instrument. Ebony fingerboard, the coolest fret markings you can get in the world. These are brass rings. I have seen copies of this sort of thing before, but they're always it's like a brass dot with a bit in the middle painted black. These aren't. These have still got the original ebony in the centre of the wee ring, kind of like a polo mint. My bass has got that as well. Brass nut. This bridge, which is one of the reasons I know it's an early one, apart from the fact it doesn't have a serial number. They're normally on the back of the headstock. This bridge is a sort of Stratty looking thing. It says on the back, STC, made in Japan. But later on they had their own design of bridge. So maybe like once you get to 82, 83, they had a less generic bridge. But this one, so I got this during the summer there, swapped it with my pal Wayne, because I've been after one of these forever. And then, I don't know, about 5 years ago, Wayne's like, I'm going to get one of those A20s, and it's like, okay, so we'll be fighting over it, obviously whoever gets it first, whoever sees one first at the right price. So up here, Wayne, I'm buying this one. Or vice versa, but he got one, a black one with gold binding on it, and he got it for a really good price, and it was like pure, well done. If I was going to choose any colour, it would be any colour but black. So I'm glad you got one, Wayne. That means that the next good one that comes along, I'll go for a new one. And then about a month later, this one showed up like 5 miles away from his house at a poor parking price. So he ended up with 2 the same, apart from his other ones a bit later, as I said, with a different bridge. So he had 2 of these, and I was like, I just up here, oh no way, you've got 2 of them, that's awesome. And then I think I let it sit for, 2 months or something, just out of the blues. Right, Wayne, how much you selling with an A20 for? I'm obviously I'm having it. It's like, I need it. So I was down seeing him last year for. We'll always go down to Download Festival, and it's been cancelled the last couple of years. So instead, I just went down, me and a couple of his pals, and we just basically drank in his garage for a couple of days, which was rocking. So I swapped this for a West Tone Pantera because I had 2 West Tone Panteras, and he'd always wanted a Pantera, so it was like a good trade. So I've had this since like August or something like that, and it worked. I just never really got round to it. So now, last night, I gave this the deep clean. The saddles on it were really rusty, and actually snapped one of the bolts that holds one of the saddles on. So, if anyone wants 5 original Yamaki saddles, but I don't have 6, so I put these ones on instead, which actually kind of look right. They're milled steel ones from the 70s. I don't know where they came from. I do remember they were in my psychedelic strap before I sold it, and I thought they're far too good, so I took them off and put on just normal saddles. Actually, looking at it, no, they're not the same. I'm going to say they're not quite the same as the ones on my Blazer, but that whole, they're not a million miles away. So it's actually working. Did a wee bit of fretwork. Totally had the thing a proper clean. You know, tuners off, all the bits out, pickups out. You know, giving it how. I remember watching a thing. It was James May cleaning a car. Someone was happier. The way he looks at it is, how clean is it? It's quite clean. Is it as clean as I can possibly get it? No. Keep going. So that's what I've done with this. It's not. I mean, it's turned out really well. I mean, it looks. It's so much. It's amazing what the difference it makes having it shiny. You know, I just had that unloved for 10 years look hanging about to it. It was all working, but just now it's a glorious thing. What else is there to say? Pickups are Washburn Power Sustains, which are made by Gotot and are the same as Ibanez Super 70s, which are basically copies of DiMarzio Super Distortions. So they are pretty much DiMarzio Super Distortions, apart from they've got 2 screws on the top so you can angle them in. This has got push-pull coil splits on both the pickups. Volume, 2 volumes, 2 tones. The neck, I wish I had one of those things, you know, used for measuring angles. This has a neck like a Toblerone, which you can't, you're never going to see it. But it's got an asymmetrical Toblerone neck, which I absolutely love. I love the Toblerone neck. It makes it feel unbelievably thin when you're kind of like there. But as you go up, it's thick in the middle. They're fantastic. I don't know why. I assume people are just scared of the idea. Oh, I don't want a deep V neck. Oh no, that doesn't. But the deep V necks are awesome. This one's actually asymmetrical as well. So if you look at it from the top, this bit here, the center point isn't in the middle. It's kind of over to this side a little bit, and it's basically the shape of your hand. So when you're sitting there, when you've got it on, it fits perfectly with the back of your hand, unlike better than any other neck you can get. But when you're playing on the thin strings up here, it's incredibly thin because it's kind of triangular. And glorious things. I'm still talking about this before we get to the next part. Yeah, so this came in. Originally, this was just the A20. The A10 is basically the same guitar, sort of. It's not a through neck though, it's a sort of set through neck. The neck comes into here somewhere, but it is a separate piece and it's not as fancy. It's got exactly the same no heel joint on it. Doesn't have coil splits. It does have binding on it, but not as much binding. Slightly less binding and just a rosewood board. It doesn't have these fret markers. So the A10's not hugely different. Basically the same guitar, but like the less fancy model. And then a couple of years later, they brought out an A5, which I was actually going to be doing in my top 10 guitars. I've got an A5. I got off my pal James, which is a bolt-on neck version, maple fingerboard. Sometimes they normally get a Telecaster layout, 2 single coils, and the metal Telecaster plate thing, you know, the metal control plate. But mine's an earlier one. Mine's an 83 or an 82, so it's got these pickups and the Telecaster plate. It's red. It's an amazing guitar. At the same time, there was a 15, which was basically again kind of the same as the A10, apart from it's got 3 single coils like a Strat, and it's got a scratch plate. So you get the 5, 10, 15, 20. That's kind of it. There's a few sort of prototypey ones kicking about later on, and you can tell the earlier ones by the neck through things. Later on you get ones called BBRs, which kind of look similar to this, but they've got like a red binding around the outside and red dots on the fingerboard, and is it black red, but they're just set neck, not this not through neck, and not having this heelless thing. You know, they've got a step the way you would get on like a Les Paul or something like So they, you can kind of tell them. It was also reissued a couple of times, which I'm sure are still pretty good. This is like pure top shelf stuff. Actually, what reminded me was I was kind of looking at Washburns the other day on the internet, and it was like, oh, there's a stage 20. It was 1,200 quid. It's like, so I've got one of them. I've just not got down to. One of the reasons was just because I got this and I got an Aria Blade Runner off Wayne at the same time. Both of them needed a little bit of work. Well, this one really just needed more cleaned up, but wasn't until I got into the actually properly doing it I realised that, you know, the saddles were knackered and they've been upgraded. So I've got it now a second frame. So I was also going to say, see the strap bridge. You know, you bolt. It's got like it's basically a flat piece of metal with a bolted on block on the back. Yeah, not this one. This is one piece. So like the block and the plate, it's all cast in one unit. So that the top plate and the block on the back are one piece of wood or one piece of metal. Kind of quite bizarre. Not seen that before. Because just as well, I didn't do that on my Japanese strap because the block was knackered, and I put another block on it and it worked really well. And I've now decided that if you're with the strap trim, I've been basically just hammering them, screwing them flat to the body, thinking, you don't really need a trim. I'll leave the bar in it, and then I'll wiggle it if I want, if I ever really need to, but I'll just make it really stiff so it just stays in tune. That doesn't work. What you need to do is, if you're going to hardtail it, as in screw it up, take the bar out, that's fine. If you've got it sitting flat on the body, you can't have the bar in, because when you bend it down and bend it back, I mean, it doesn't go back in tune, so it has to be floating. Not much, I mean, it's got some up bends. You know, half a note. It goes up one step, kind of the way it was designed to do. I think that's the way the original strap was designed to work as well. So, make some noise, playing through my PV VK112. I still not bother plugging in the bottom cabinet, so it's just running on its internal speaker. And these are super distortions, so if you don't like super distortions, you want one of these pickups. Very high output. Split. Treble's not a problem. Or sorry, lack of treble's not a problem. Both pickups are in single coil. I'll put a wee backing track of some. neck. Just put the strings on it. So it's kind of started off there using the sort of single coil sounds, but clearly it's a. Well, did metal really exist in 1980? Yes, it did. So it's kind of. It really does the metal well. So I'm just thinking there. I assume this is. It's Strat scale, isn't it? Strat scale, isn't it? Or it could be 25, which is what it's Strat scale. So it's a 25.5 inch. So the wings are 25. It's kind of in the middle. So it's Strat scale, super neck. I'm going to take this into the studio in about 2 hours time for a bit of a jam. See what it sounds like. I'm actually going to take that amp in as well. See what that sounds like at the volume it's meant to be at, rather than being in the house volume. This is the amp distortion. So this kind of suffers the same thing, which you get a little bit from the Super Distortion, but it's really obvious on the Wing series, which I always loved. The Washburn Falcon I had, loved it, thought that this is the most amazing looking and feeling guitar ever. Really hard to play because it absolutely punishes you for making any mistakes. Like if you don't play that note right, it just goes. So you can sit there going da 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 da. Really unforgiving. Not a beginner's guitar. It really makes you work for it, but on the flip side, when you get it right, it's just glorious. Like so much clarity in it. sounds like anything else, but I quite like it. This video was going on so long there, it cut out right in the middle of that. For a fantastic riff, which I'm kind of tempted to try and write a song with. Kind of that's my next hour set. I'm going to sit and play this. So yes, so if you see Washburn Stage Series, there's join the Washburn Golden Era page, which is basically for the 3 guitars Yamaki built. Well, we're still not sure about the 4 series, which there might be some of that coming up during the week. I also need to do another video for the stage series, because now I've got a shitload of them. So I would argue I don't have the whole set. So if anyone wants to swap a beat up A10 with a Caller on it for an A15, because then it would have 5, 10, 15, 20, which would be nice. But I've grown to like this. I'm getting less racist these days. I don't dislike black guitars as much. I think one of the reasons, my main reason for not liking black guitars is you can't see them. So you see people on stage and stuff like that, you know, all dressed in black and black with a black guitar. So what kind of guitar is that? You can't see it. And if you're going to have a guitar with this sort of shape, you've got to show that it's this shape. And that was kind of why I started buying sort of psychedelic t-shirts, and I got these t-shirts all done in these colours so you can see the guitar, you know what I mean? Nowadays I don't spend so much time looking at the mirror, or not looking at myself in the mirror, you know, but it's kind of having it there. Now I'm looking at myself in this screen, playing it going, yeah! I mean, obviously there's a fair amount of joy to be had from playing the guitars, but also looking cool, which is kind of why guitars are, it doesn't really matter kind of how good something plays within reason. If it looks a minger, nah, it's less likely to do it. That's my problem with a lot of basses. I just think look minging. So regardless of how ergonomic it is, I would rather have a P bass because it looks cool, or one of these. It doesn't. It's maybe slightly neck heavy, but not much. It's kind of because it's designed to be. I think you think of that being horizontal is probably where it's meant to be, like that. That angle, which is about right, and it sort of sits that way. It's got a belly contour in the back, nothing on the front. Designed to be stage guitars. This one I weighed it last night. Was at 3.8 kilograms, which is not. It's not. It's just a guitar weight, really. I think about 3.5, 3.6 is neither heavy nor light. And then when you get down to 3, suddenly it's like you're having to hold it down because it's floating away. And you get very few guitars that are as light as 3 unless there's something wrong with them. And then once you get up to 5, suddenly it's like having a concrete paving slab around your neck. It's amazing, such a small difference apparent in the weight. You know, it's only 0.1. It makes a big difference. Also, I think one of the main things about weight in guitars is how well balanced it is. You know, you can have a heavy guitar that balances well, doesn't weigh as much as a light guitar that's pure neck heavy, like nothing else. Like a Gibson Explorer Thunderbird bass, something like that. It's like not that heavy, fucking feels heavy though, because it's just so weirdly balanced. I'm missing my rat pedal though. I got my foot switches in the post though, so I might do that this afternoon, the rat pedal, so I can actually turn it on and off again. I'm currently just using the twin note pedal, which is great, but it's a bit metal. Well, this is it. I'm actually on the guitar amp just now. This is the amp distortion. So I might. It does sound really good, the amp distortion, especially when you start ripping it with a guitar like this. You know. Also, have to mention when I was setting this up, because I had this completely down to component bits, you know, I had the bridge off, all the saddles off, all the tuners off, the pickups out, everything. It's much easier to set up a really nice guitar than it is to set up like a Squire or something like that. There's an awful lot more effort, so it's like, you know, it's kind of weird because you think, oh, it's like I'll go into the shop and get my guitar set up, and it's like they're charging me, you know, £100 to set the guitar up. The guitar only costs 200 quid. It's kind of not worth it. It should cost less than that. And it's like, no, it should. Technically, it's much harder to set up a £200 guitar than it is to set up a £1,200 guitar, because it's just like all the components are just much better. You know, it's like all the bits turn really smoothly and everyone just dunk, and it's basically just better built. And this is at the sort of quality level where it's like, it's this and the basically the Yamaki, this and the Wingseas are kind of the best built guitars I've ever seen by miles. And I'm talking, it's like, you know, Gibson and Fender, like, no, they're here. They are ridiculous. I'd imagine there must be guitars that are as good as this. Maybe your handmade ones, you know, if you pay like $5,000 for like a handmade Luthier grade guitar, you might get one at this level, but that's the kind of level we're talking about here. That's why they didn't last very long. So you had like, Yamaki went under in 83, and then Washburn weren't happy, and it was like, oh, we need more guitars. And like, yeah, but we can't make more guitars if we're making the best guitars in the world. And they went, we don't want the best guitars in the world. People will still buy them. So after 83, the next year they came out, same price, cost half as much to build, still made in Japan, still good, still Gibson quality, you know, good Gibson quality, not dodgy Gibson quality, the best of Gibson quality. And then they did that for a few years, and then it was like, oh, hey, hold on. Why are we spending X amount to build these guitars? Why don't we make them in Korea, and we'll make them just as cheap as, we'll make them much cheaper to make, sell them for the same amount of money. To hence the late 80s when the Koreans started coming. They're all right, but they're nothing compared to the Japanese ones. But they, you know, as I said, to build them, this probably cost twice as much to build as the one that came out in 1984. Just to build, they sold it for the same amount of money. And then when they went to 1988, they kind of stopped making these. They were more like, you know, making super strats. They were making them for like a tenth of the price of these and selling them for the same price. So they're going, we get 90, you know, we get 10 times as much profit churning these out. And it's like, whereas these guys were artists, you know, there's a pride in it. It's like, we're going to try and make the best guitar ever. And it's like, yeah, it is the best. It's not, they don't go for anything like what they should do. Price wise, nobody knows what they are. I mean, this will be like one of the probably only the reference videos where you actually get someone who's talked about these things and kind of knows where they came from, even though I don't 100% know. I just think it's an early one because of the strap bridge, and it doesn't have a serial number on it. I know it doesn't have a serial number on the back of the that either, because my blue one does have it there. Handmade, you know, like not handmade the way I saw them hand sanding the necks in, what's that, a video, I think it was an Anderton's video, when they were in the Fender factory and they were showing you them hand sanding the necks of the custom shop or whatever it was. There's a guy with a big box of necks and a big belt going past. He's like that pure. No, that's not. There wasn't anything in these that wasn't built like that. These are hand sanded, like with a guy with a sandpaper kind of thing, or maybe a lady, like all that. So you can kind of tell it's like it's not. I don't know. It's been built by a person who took pride in what they did. So it's not computer perfect. It is kind of. It's got that handmade-y look about it. You know, just when you look closely at it. Once you get used to looking for these things. Well, it's been a 40-minute video. So much I had to chop it into 2 parts. Well, my computer ran out of memory, and I had to do a second half of it. So stage series, and look forward to at some point. I don't know, maybe in the next month or something like that. I'll look out the lot and I'll do a bit more of a history one, I think. Rock on. Catch you all. What's today? Today's Friday. Saturday. So live stream Sunday. Don't know what the video for tomorrow's going to be. Have to do something. Oh, there's a couple of guitars to fix. Rock on. Love you all.